Hello, dudes, dudettes, duders, and everyone in between, and welcome to the Hollywood Fishbowl.
Oh my!
Video edition. Say hello to the A camera.
Hi.
All
That's
right.
A camera.
Say hello to the B camera.
Hi.
Now it's you're going to be out of the frame. I'm going to say all on my own hello to the C camera. Hi. You're not even close. There you go. That's the one. Welcome to Hollywood Fishbowl Video Edition.
Oh my pew. How excited are you right now?
Super duper. This has been a long time coming because we've done Video Edition before. Oh, have we done Video Edition before?
We have.
What a mess. You weren't here for that.
No, but I did see it.
It was...
And it was a lot of work behind the scenes. What I saw was what I saw, but I know that you did a lot of work behind the scenes to make it possible.
Hey, what if I switched to your camera while you talked to me?
Yeah,
and my camera while I talk to you. Wow, this is amazing. But now we can do it all live. You're
getting used to it. I would be messing it up all the time. I would be focusing on me when you're talking and vice versa.
Still learning how to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not quite an expert at live switching while I'm talking to somebody, but it's... So far, it seems to be working. How have you been?
I've been okay. I mean, you've been here, so that makes a big difference.
Do you know what that means?
What?
It means that you and we have been
together.
And we've been sequestered. We're coming up on 100 days. I think we're in the low 90s right now since the 14th, I think it was the 14th, actually, that Trump
March
said
14th.
this is a national emergency. And we've kind of been off the grid, off the map, in our apartment for months now.
Yeah. Me more than you.
Yes, I have been going out. I have... It's a tight spot.
First bump of live video podcast.
Also, that was the first foot bump. Usually it's with our hands that we bump the very mics.
Ooh, the variations have... Wait, I'm going to be careful. I want to be the second one.
You will be. No, you won't. You seem to have your hands tied below the desk.
I don't want to bump anything.
And I pray that you never do, darling. I pray that you never do.
Oh, my.
How have you been? Wow. Yeah. We have been through a lot as a couple.
Since the last sequester update.
And since we met, we've been through quite a lot just as a couple. What's your read on the whole situation?
I'm grateful to get to know you better and to remind myself.
I am pretty incredible. Please continue.
Is that close enough to see my face?
No, we're on the close-up of your face. It's just your camera.
That's my exasperated expression.
All right. We got to keep things moving along.
Sorry, okay.
Tell me about your day and how fantastic it is to know
videos.
me better.
Pew. Well, I'm happy that we get along. We've never been isolated before for this long.
Certainly not.
Yeah, we've had weekends where we would just hang out, just the two of us. But it's never been this long. And that we're getting along is very encouraging to me. And it reminds me that I have good taste in life partners.
I was so thinking that this was just going to be innocuous, and then it turned into a praise of oneself at the very end.
Yeah, because you started it off with your own hubris. Anyway, I'm happy that we're getting to do our own projects. Every now and then we do drive out and film outside. There was the last live stream we did that it was all outside.
From Rockahula Water Park.
Yeah. So we are doing more projects, and the productions are becoming more refined as we get used to being our own production team.
Case in point, back to you, Swinky.
Yeah. And it's nice. I'm very grateful. I'm also grateful for having gotten some work online. I'm grateful for the audition I did and passed, and now I'm learning the music for when things not go back to normal but reopen to some extent, and then I'll be performing in public again. I'm grateful for a lot of things. And health. We haven't been sick.
Yes, we have not.
And that's something to be appreciative.
I'd like to ask you a question. There is that the echoing phrase when things go back to normal. What normals do you want back, and what normals would you be well and glad to be rid of forever?
Handshaking, I won't miss that. I really don't like shaking people's hands. And I'm
What about
glad-
hand wringing?
hand wringing? Your own hands, you can wring your own hands. That's
Okay.
fine. Just don't wring other people's hands. I'm glad for that. And people are more aware of how much is transferred from person to person through contact. And I like that. I like that this is something that's becoming normal. It wasn't just something that would get you labeled as obsessive compulsive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So I'm looking forward to it. I hope that stays.
all the cautious people are like, hey, welcome to my world.
Yeah.
What do you think I've been doing for my entire lifetime?
So
Now-
I'm happy for that. I hope that stays.
There's this thing that I have noticed over the last 2 months. I am terrified of COVID-19. I have no patience for COVID burgers. I don't want one in my life ever.
Yeah, yeah.
I am utterly indifferent about everything else. Like when we went out to shoot the Rockahula thing, I did not care about any of the potential for germs other
Yeah.
than COVID-19. Out there's no COVID-19.
You were fine. You were in heaven.
Yeah.
Running around, touching things.
Yep. Just scraping my tongue along the walls.
Bah, that's gross.
This is an honest question,
Yes.
and you can answer it as honestly as you like.
Butterfly.
Oh, yes. Oh, we do have space for a fourth camera. We could put a camera pointing
So
out
that
the
if
window.
something distracts me, people can understand why.
Yes, and we can cut to the butterfly cam if we want to. But the question for you is, how do you feel about that little bit of hypocrisy? Where when it comes to COVID burgers, I am more cautious than you have ever been with any germ ever. When it's every other germ that's not COVID, I do not give a shit. It doesn't register
really
a blip
don't.
on my
Yeah,
radar.
Yeah. I wouldn't call it hypocrisy. You're just not wired that way. You don't see germs when you look at things. You just see things, if you see them at all.
Wow, you're really like taking this opportunity to smoke me.
No, baby, you just said it. You
Fishbowl.
don't care about these things. But then you've always been aware of hygiene. Like when we come back from outside, even before COVID became a thing, you would always wash your hands, sometimes even your face. Just, out. That's how you've always been.
No, definitely not. That
No?
was how after we started dating, I was like, oh, I better learn how to do this or she's going to go insane with what I bring home.
Yeah. I don't think I'm on the crazy side. I won't call it hypocrisy. I think it's progress.
On my part.
No, I think it's progress, and I'm going to take the progress, even though it's...
Okay, you take the wins where you can
Oh,
get
yeah.
them.
Oh, yeah. I take the wins because people rarely change. So when people change even a little bit, you have to be really happy if it changes in the direction that you want it to go.
I think what we're learning is this microphone setup will not work in the long term.
For you, because
Yeah,
you move
there's-
your legs a lot.
Well, you can't move them at all. Like I'm literally standing. You can't see because of the table, but I am standing on the microphone stand. Like I cannot move my feet at all forward or backwards, or it will make a sound.
Yeah.
So,
We'll figure something
woe is me.
out.
We'll continue to upgrade this setup
Woe
and
is me.
see what we can do. So
How are you doing? Pew.
Oh, you know what?
What?
How could I even answer that? I'm going to ask you. How am I doing? Like, you know me well enough. You've known me my entire adult
You
life.
want my honest answer?
Where am I hitting a home run and where could I improve? We're cutting to Swinky in 3, 2, 1.
I think you've gotten really good at handling your stress. In the first 3 weeks, maybe a whole month,
First, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, do not count.
Okay.
That was off the map. We had no information about what was going on.
Yeah, you were a nervous wreck.
But that, I don't take responsibility for my anxiety in those moments because it was
I know.
such a grand
And there were
outside
family members
influence.
that were unwell.
Yeah. There was just it would. I believe, considering everything that was happening, my stress levels were understandable. Could they have been lower? Yes. Could I learn over the course of a lifetime techniques to get them lower if I'm in a moment of that great uncertainty again? Yes, I could. But until that point in my life, I had no reason to train for that level of uncertainty and stress. This was the first global pandemic in a century.
Right.
this was not a small bit of uncertainty. This was like everything's flipping upside down, and it'll be, for all we can tell, probably a year, 2 years before we can even tell you what right side up might look like again.
Right, yeah.
So, the stress was high, but it wasn't. I don't fault anyone in those first 2-3 weeks for. You can't. I don't feel that it's fair to be like, well, you could have handled that a little better, bro.
Oh,
you know
okay,
what I mean?
I understand what you mean.
And that's not how you were coming at it,
Yeah.
but I do feel like not in defense of myself, but in defense of everyone who was just.
Yes.
Well, there's no other way to
Contending.
say it, darling. Gobsmacked.
That I was on the receiving end of a lot of that anxiety, and sometimes I couldn't tell whether you were mad at me or mad at the world or the situation or at yourself for how you were feeling. So it was more difficult to be around you in those first few weeks. But I think with not certainty, but the comfort of settling into new rhythms in isolation have helped you. The comfort has helped you.
Yeah, God damn it, Swinky, was your subject singular or plural?
It's singular. The comfort
This
of
isn't
settling
some
into this
10-penny
new
cotton candy
situation
vending
has
machine.
helped you to moderate your emotions and your fears and concerns, and you talk about it more. Like in the beginning, okay, I'll give this example. So we used to go shopping together, remember? And
I remember. I
couldn't
think I know where
understand-
this story is going.
I couldn't understand why you were so mad at me. I was excited about everything because I'm excited about everything always. And we were out shopping together. I know pandemic and everything, but I was happy to be outside in the supermarket picking vegetables and things. But every time you saw me touching something or reaching out to collect something, even though we were wearing gloves, were we wearing gloves that first week?
We were not wearing gloves.
We're not
This
wearing
was
gloves.
before
We
we
didn't
had
know.
any gloves, and I don't even know if we had face masks. We might have had one between the two of us that you brought from Japan.
Yeah,
Or we
yeah.
had two, and then
Two.
you threw one away, and I almost lost my mind when you did that.
Everything I did made you so angry. So I
Okay, I'm going to the wide shot for this because we need to discuss this as an open forum. Why would you throw away 50% of our mask supply?
It was 33%. 33.3 and no, I didn't just throw it away. It was dusty and had been sitting around for so long. I thought, what's the point? It's just going to give you a cold anyway. I understand that sounds absurd.
Defend yourself to the camera.
Yeah, but at the time it made sense because we still
your
had the clean
close-up
ones.
camera is very flattering. People will agree with you just because you look so nice on it. That's why I'm dumping you to the wide camera. You're on trial.
Ba is our house lingo for goodbye.
I'm going to my close-up for this. Bye is actually our house lingo when Swinky knows that I have won a conversation. And that's right. In my head, conversations are things that can be won.
Okay, what was I saying? Okay, so when we went shopping, I didn't understand why you were so mad at me for just existing. So we came home.
I'm gonna let you finish, and then I will cut to my.
And I remember very clearly,
I was never
thinking,
mad at you for existing.
but it felt that way because it didn't matter what I did or said, you would just explode. So we came home, and I think we had a really good talk about what was going on with you. And then I realized that it's not about me. It's just all the uncertainty and not knowing how to handle yourself or ourselves outside of the house. In the house, we might be okay, but outside, who knows? So we made a simple decision that I will not join you on the shopping trips, and we will instead go for walks together.
Yes.
When there's no one around. And I don't know, it was like magic. You became Pew again. It was so nice. I really missed you during that time because everything would stress you out, baby. Everything.
Well, think about it from, how my brain works.
Yeah.
When we're in the house, there's 10 variables a day. If neither of us leaves the house, there's the variable of getting the mail, where we come in contact with things that other people touch, taking out the trash, maybe taking out the recycling, going for a walk. And And that's it. Those are the variables. If we don't bring COVID burgers home, when we do that, then we haven't brought anything home, right? You go to the grocery store and it goes from 10 variables to infinity. It's it's exponential. Everybody has touched everything, and we can't account for everybody who's been touching everything there. Who's sneezed on their hand? Who's coughed blood on their hand before touching those apples and oranges? And then you understand, like, what I was seeing isn't absurd. And at the time, again, I can't stress this enough. We were soaked in uncertainty. You could sink a boat with everything we didn't know at that point about COVID-19.
Yeah.
The pictures are becoming clearer as time goes on and as more research is done.
It's like we're zooming out.
Yeah, and getting a clearer and clearer picture of how it's transmitted, how you catch it, what effect it will have on your livelihood in the short term and in the long term. And we just know more. And it was the lack of information that was driving me nuts. And seeing it as like this numeric equation where every time both of us would go to a grocery store or something like that, there was, when I'd go there, that's infinity variables. If you came with me, that's infinity times 2 variables that are completely out of our control. And when you're dealing with numbers as big as infinity, doubling them is weird. So you can understand. Like,
I understand, baby. And I did understand because you explained it to me. And what I'm saying is, this time in isolation has been a lot of fun because we ironed out so many kinks during those first few weeks. We had a lot to get through.
We do know a lot more about how you and I both react to uncertainty and how we process it and what effect it has on our day-to-day living. Yeah. Then I'm not ready to say goodbye to you. This thing does kill people. It literally, factually, we know it kills people. We know that America was not prepared for it. We know that America's response has been terrible. We know that you are not at the top of the list for lung transplants or any kind of treatment. And if it meant me going to the grocery store instead of you to reduce the possibility of that outcome of me holding your hand and saying goodbye as you drown, yeah, I'll go to the grocery store alone.
But you enjoy going to a grocery store,
I love
right?
it. I love it. I love it. It's so quick without you alone.
Bad.
Just walk in, you get the things. There's not 15 minutes spent staring at the spice rack. And then you go
They have
home.
so many different varieties,
I
even
know.
of the same selection. You know?
Yes. Oh, I know. So,
I understand.
maybe once we have herd immunity, I'll take you to a spice aisle again.
I'm looking forward to that.
Do you want me to take pictures? What, should I take the camera and photograph the spice aisle for you?
And you bring them home to me.
You can look at them.
Next time I'll get this and this and this. I'll use that for that.
Oh, Pew, it's like I'm actually there.
No, I'm not desperate. And you're very good about bringing the things I put on the list. If they're there, you'll bring them. So.
If they have them, I'm only happy to bring them home and give them to you. Because,
I like for nothing.
Look, okay, yeah, it's, from your perspective, benevolent. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. And I'm cutting to your camera while I tell you this so the audience can see your reaction in real time.
Okay.
Every little request you make for ingredients that I pick up from the grocery store for you, you turn them into delicious food that I eat. It's,
okay.
There's
So it's
a
for
benefit
you.
for me. It puts a smile on your face, and I'd rather not take that joy from you. But
I enjoy cooking.
Yeah. And
For our family.
Our family. Oh, let's grow that family.
Yeah.
You know, it's been the only thing on my mind the whole
I
time.
know. Oh gosh, baby, you have such baby fever.
I've got mad baby fever. Look, there's only so many times you can play Mortal Kombat 2 in Sequester before you're like, I am contributing nothing to
Nothing.
this world.
Yeah.
I have lived my 4 decades. I am not a child prodigy. If I want a child prodigy in my life, it's gonna have to be someone other than me. Let's get started on that project.
Child prodigy.
Yeah. How's that for pressure, kid? Kiddo mine that ain't born yet.
No pressure for them. They can just be their beautiful selves.
And if their beautiful self happens to be a violin prodigy,
Oh my gosh. Oh.
you know I'm gonna take all the credit for that
I'm going
shit.
to get another peacock costume.
For the kid or
For me.
For you too?
Yeah, the proud mom.
To wear to graduation.
I'll be the mom that wears costumes, and I'll learn how to put on makeup, and I'll be showing up looking great.
Okay, let's get into that then.
What?
Something else we learned during the sequester. You and I, permission to swear, darling.
Okay.
You and I love costumes.
Yeah, we do. I miss. Wait, maybe we can get them online. We don't have to. Maybe there are cheap places online.
We can get costumes
for
online.
our shows.
We have torn through every wacky article of clothing in this house.
Every combination.
And, yes, chopped them up, repurposed them, whatever we can for costumes. I just want to wear more costumes with you.
I know. Oh gosh, baby, we could do themed costumes.
We could. And we could dress up like some of our favorite characters from some of our favorite films, like Freaked or Ghostbusters. Oh wait, should I go to your close-up for that reaction? Yeah, that's the face of a wife who loves what her husband just said. Holding on,
I'm very
Swinky.
patient.
You are. Let's talk about movies, can we?
Yes. I'll let you steer this part of the conversation because I don't know where you're going with this, baby.
I'll tell you exactly where I'm going with it, and I'll tell you in the sentence that comes after this one's done. What have been your favorite movies? We've been watching more movies than ever in our lives. I think we're going to blaze past 100 this year. It has been ages. I mean, in college, maybe 100, 150 a year. We're going to smoke 100.
Yeah.
Easily smoke 100.
Gosh.
And there have been some really good ones in there.
Yeah. Well, of course, there's no need mentioning Cats.
I said favorite, darling.
Every time I get a chance, I'm going to say I don't like Cats and Freaked. But I'm going to say...
Okay, honest question. Which was worse, Cats or Freaked? Going into the close-up in 3, 2, 1.
Cats.
All right. Freaked, we dodged a bullet. Got your back, buddy.
At least Freaked, they knew what they were doing.
Yes.
Yeah, they had a plan, and it's cohesive.
True. That's true. They did have a vision, and they executed that vision. Cats is bananas.
They don't have a plan. It's just things happening.
But we're not here to shovel more dirt on Cats. I mean, that thing is dead, buried.
Oh, poor Judy.
All 9 of its lives.
Yes. I enjoyed Clueless. That was silly.
Wasn't that a nice
Also,
one?
it's fresh in my memory because we watched it recently.
Yeah.
And Kimi no Namae wa?
Yes.
Oh, Kimi no Nawa? Yeah. That was a good one.
In English, Your Name. It's the animated film where they...
That was good.
Swap bodies.
Which movies did I like? I liked Uncut Gems.
That was very well made. I respect it. Respect the craft. Don't know that I enjoyed it, and it's a perfect film in its own right. Like it's a very well made film, and it achieves everything to a T. Everything it set out to do. And when you're critiquing film, as I understand, your goal is to figure out whether the film achieved its goals or not.
Yeah.
Like Clueless achieved all of its goals across the board. Perfect film for what it is. Doesn't have to be Lawrence of Arabia. It could just be Clueless, but it's perfectly clueless.
So silly.
Uncut Gems, another one that achieved everything to the highest standard of artistic integrity in front of the camera and behind. They achieved everything they set out to do. I have respect for that from the bottom of my heart. It is another in this new format of films that follows fatally flawed characters to the bitter end of their fatal flaws, and in the first 3 to 5 minutes you know everything that's going to go wrong. You know that it will not get fixed. You just kick back and watch things go from bad to worse to
death.
And The Lighthouse was one of those films which you let me go to Swinky's shot. Oh, I didn't even cut to myself for my screed on film.
Oh, okay,
it's your reaction the whole time. So now when I go back and watch it, I can see how bored you get when I talk about films at length. But Uncut Gems, very, very well made. But I just don't need any more films that we know where it's headed in the first 5 minutes, and it's just headed downhill for the entire 2-hour runtime. Beautiful though they may be, well acted though they may be.
Hey, what was that movie with the black guy that was a singer and then he became a movie actor and was played by Eddie Murphy?
Dolomite is my name.
Dolomite!
That one was so much fun to watch.
That was fun one.
That was endlessly entertaining.
Oh my goodness, I really enjoyed that one. I had to look him up later.
And it turns out that's
that's
the guy.
Yeah, it was a very fair representation.
Yes.
I enjoyed watching the Back to the Futures with you.
Those aren't bad, are they?
They're not bad at all.
They're entertaining, they're fluffy, and that's all you need sometimes. Yeah. They're good. They're good quarantine movies.
Right. And I understand why when they came out, they kind of swept the culture and it was on everyone's mind, and everyone that was around when they came out knows what they're about.
Yeah.
They captured the zeitgeist.
Very, very much. That was not a mic bump. That was technically a table bump.
Sorry.
That's I forgive you. Do the viewers at home forgive you?
Forgive me.
Forgive her. She's trying with all of her mind. Okay, so Dolomite.
Well, no, I'm the one naming movies that I
Dolomite
enjoyed.
was my name. Clueless, Uncut Gems.
The Back to the
Futures.
We watched a lot of movies.
And they've been mostly good.
Yeah.
Mostly good throughout the
sequester. The French one, Blue. That was good.
You enjoyed Bleu?
I enjoyed Bleu.
Let's get into Bleu Blanc Rouge. Les trois couleurs trilogie.
Oh gosh, your grandma's not going to enjoy this part.
Joke's on you. I don't think grandma's ever going to find this.
Okay, all right.
Number 3, I am awful. Oh, show the card. There, that's close up on the card. What did you like about Blue?
I liked that it was true to itself.
Another film, critical perspective. It absolutely achieved exactly what it set out to do. 1-to-1 in front of the camera and behind it. I think they hit all their marks perfectly on that film.
And this, I like the lady. So the lady finds out that her dead husband had a mistress, and the mistress is pregnant now. So normally, people would be seeking revenge or trying to cut them out of the will or make sure that they don't get anything. But this woman, God bless her, she's a saint. She goes and she finds this mistress. And not even that, she takes the mistress to the house where she used to live with her husband and gives the house to her and the resources that come with it.
You know what the most beautiful little touch in that scene was for me? The whole movie was beautiful with plenty of beautiful moments. But the standout was how carefully written that scene was when she gives the house to the mistress. She says, have you picked a name for the baby? And the mistress says, yes, I have. And then the wife says, I think the baby should grow up in his house with his name. And she doesn't have to ask the mistress if she was going to name the kid after the husband.
After the dad, yeah.
The subtlety of that scene and how much it's open to our interpretation if the mistress had chosen that name and they were both on exactly the same wavelength, entirely possible. If she had chosen a different name and the wife was saying this is just how it's going to be, and the mistress acquiesced in that moment and didn't push back, whatever the dynamic was, both women were too wise and too in tune with the love of this man and the complexity of the situation they were in to speak over the silence that they were sharing in that moment. There's no other way to say it, darling. That writing left me gobsmacked.
That's fun. I'm enjoying this gobsmacked sections.
It's. I think this is the best the Hollywood Fishbowl has ever been.
Really?
Since the sequester.
Oh yeah. Also, we have no guests. The guests are us.
Can you guess who's going to be our guest next week?
You're all our guests.
Let's do a proposal.
Yes.
I propose that moving forward.
Yes.
a Hollywood Fishbowl is all blue, blanc, rouge talk. 1 hour a week. 1 hour a day. Talking about blue, blanc, rouge. Going in for the close-up on Swinky as she thinks it over. It looks like I'm going to get a yes on this. Pretty sure I'm going to get a yes. 99.9% chance I'm going to get a yes.
No.
Wow, I was completely wrong.
No.
All right.
You're silly.
You're silly. All right, we've talked movies. We've talked our own varying levels of insanity. You've been doing great.
Our own varying levels of insanity.
I think you've been keeping it together. Do you feel like you've been keeping it together?
I feel like I have. I have.
But what's your secret? Can you tell us why psychiatrists hate this one trick you're doing to keep yourself from losing your mind?
Well, you have to turn to page 6. Anyway, I don't hold on to things because I usually move on to the next thing. Some people call that flighty or flippant. But I think it's just a survival tactic that I may have developed over the years. I just don't, I try not to, because when I dwell on something, it really bothers me. And I'm crippled by it sometimes, depending on the magnitude. So I prefer to just move on to the next thing and focus on that. And if I need to be worried about something and it's nagging me, I'll come back to it later. I don't know. I don't have good advice. I'm not a therapist. Also, it helps to have family. It's nice to know that I'm not alone. That if I get sick, I won't be out on the street by myself. If I have a cold, someone's
you
going to.
You mean beyond me?
No, I'm talking about you.
No, but even
yes, but your family is also my family too. Even though my family is very far away,
that's a
your
thing.
family is my family.
In this sequester, we have had to game out very bad case scenarios, including, but not limited to, what if you're here and I'm not? And I think I hope you know that pretty much as far as blood goes, any house that I'm welcome in, you're also welcome in, whether I keep these mortal coils bound or not.
Yeah. And also, I've developed habits of thankfulness. They don't always work to my favor because I end up being grateful for really dumb things like, at least he didn't say this. And when I say he, I'm talking about anyone, not necessarily you.
So who else have you been talking to then? That might stress you out.
I don't know, in politics or whatever.
Okay.
I'm very grateful for small things, which I'm finding is a problem because when I see things, the way things are here in America, I don't think they're that bad because I come from a place where, politics have been taken to the extreme. So I've learned to be really grateful for very small things. So, that helps with peace of mind.
Let's set up the classic burlesque setup and punchline. What is the smallest thing that you've been able to contend with and manage to make yourself happy about?
Pew, that's silly. I'm not answering that on camera. The smallest thing I've had to be happy about?
I imagine you will never be a star of the burlesque stage, darling.
I know. So there are these...
Yes, Swinky, you have your hand up.
So there are these digestive biscuits that I really like.
Wait, you said you were going for small gratitude? You are not kidding.
Yeah. They're digestive biscuits, the biscuits that I really like, but they haven't been available. Pew found digestive biscuits, which I love, but they're tiny. They're really small, and the quantity is lower. But I'm not here to complain. I'm here to be grateful. So I'm grateful to all the powers that be, the bakers, the company that decided that they were going to make these sample digestives for me. And I'm grateful. I'm happy. I got to eat digestives again. I hadn't eaten any since quarantine began. So I'm very happy.
And of course, we have to ask for the fans listening at home, how's your digestion?
Great. I'm keeping things moving.
Speaking of keeping things moving,
bye.
This is my first good segue.
Yeah, that was very good.
We talked about COVID burgers. We talked about movies. We talked
Does
about...
everyone call them COVID burgers, or is that something you say?
I'm waiting for them to catch up to me. Clearly, I am ahead of the train on this one. We've talked about sanity, mental health.
Yeah.
Let's talk social activism. In your... Let's remind the viewers and listeners at home, this is Swinky's, like, she's half a year into her time in America. This is what her introduction to my home country is like.
Oh, man.
All right, and we are going to leave Swinky to speak for the entire global black community in 3, 2, 1.
I think there is progress, and I'm grateful for that progress. I hope that people won't move on to the next news article.
I am going for a world record of mic bumps. This system cannot sustain itself.
Yeah, baby. I heard that.
Right in the middle of like when we were going to have a flag waving behind you type
and triumphant music.
Thump.
Did by a band.
Anyway, and we are going to let Swinky speak for the entire global black community in 3, 2.
I am grateful for the progress. I'm grateful for the awareness. I'm looking forward to sustained pressure on... Hey, butterfly.
All right, we are going to have Swinky speak for the entire global black community in 3, 2.
I'm grateful for the progress. I'm grateful for the sustained pressure on powers that be. I am grateful to be witnessing this and for the safety and comfort of our home. And I hope for the same for a lot of the people that are actually taking to the streets. And that's all I can say. And I'm not representing all the black people on earth.
I hope to God our listeners are discerning enough to know that that was not meant to be taken seriously.
Right?
That,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a travesty, really, when the only black person is expected to talk about everything involving black people from around the globe. And
honest question for you.
Yes.
Which makes you more uncomfortable? I'm not going to say which is worse because I think I can guess which. I have a feeling about which one is worse, but I cannot guess which one makes you uncomfortable.
More uncomfortable. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Is it more uncomfortable for you to be in a meeting with 5 white people who discuss what they're going to do for Black Lives Matter without asking you any questions or turning to you at all? Or is it more uncomfortable for people to ask you questions as if you are speaking for the global black community? And we're cutting to Swinky in 3, 2, 1.
Wow. I don't think I have an answer. They're
because you don't seem to like either one of those options very much.
Yeah, and you know me, baby. I'm not really politically zealous in any way.
I would argue that you are zealous in your
is that how you say it? Zealous?
That's
like jealous?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I say it. Could be multiple pronunciations. But now I've lost my train of thought.
Sorry, you wouldn't say that I'm a zealous.
Oh, that you are zealous about an even-keeled approach to life. That you care deeply and passionately and would love it if you could instill in everybody a desire to take a calm, pensive approach to every aspect of life. Just because you're not zealous in any one extreme direction doesn't mean that you are free from passion or desire to influence the world around you.
Thank you for saying that.
Thank you for being who you are.
But this is the thing. Americans, you are either on one end of the spectrum or on the other end. And if you're not choosing one of them, then what's your deal? You need to make a choice. Make a choice now. You need to know what you're about. And that's not how you disagree.
I don't disagree
That's what
with
it
you.
looks like.
Yes.
That's what it looks like. Like everyone has to choose always. You always have to pick a side for every issue. This happened. What do you think? Huh? You know, I mean, sometimes we don't have thoughts
What I
on
think
things.
is that approach broadcasts well, but I don't know that it reflects the actual majority of Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Is that fair?
That's fair. Yeah.
But it broadcasts well on social media. It broadcasts well on news networks. It broadcasts well on, interview commentary shows. That hard line, moral absolutism.
Yeah.
But I don't think it actually reflects day-to-day living for the average person any more than like police dramas represent the struggle between good and evil, cops and robbers. It's a fictionalized, exaggerated, heightened version akin to wrestling, but it's with words instead of big sexy men throwing themselves around the ring.
Yeah. Well, I will say I am hopeful that things will look better soon. Look and feel better. Right now, it just feels like there's just so much pent up anger in America because of centuries of practices that are just not, they're just not morally, I don't know, justifiable, whichever way you look at it. And nothing was done to address them. We kind of swept things under the rug and moved on.
No, like occasional lip service here and there, and a street named after somebody and a statue over there or something. But, and
it's hard. Can you imagine centuries? That's what your country is. And then now your country has to change and do things differently. Of course, it's going to be difficult and it's going to take time. And I think it might be disheartening for people to know that it's this unrest is not going to end now.
No, and I don't...
It will take a long time.
I wish people on the other side, people who oppose the protests, who say that it's been taken too far. First of all, boo freaking who, you said it was taken too far when Colin took a knee. So
he's just taking a knee.
Like, your metric system doesn't really impress us to begin with. But that idea that it's like here we are centuries later and the change is going to be hard. What I can't stress enough is that the people who are fighting for this change aren't in their hearts fighting for change. In their hearts, the feeling is it never should have been this way. They're not trying to... Like, the desire isn't just that it changes moving forward, but the honest to God wish is that it was never, ever, ever, ever like this, ever. So the those change comes slowly, change is hard, falls on deaf ears, I believe, in this...
Okay.
In moments like these. Like, it's... it is wrong, was wrong, has always been wrong. So boo-hoo if it's hard to change it. That has no bearing. This is a thought.
Okay.
Only a thought.
I was saying it mostly in relation to the activism online. That people think they can just move on. Yeah. That, you post a black screen and then move on with your life. You've done your part. It's not just that. That's what I mean. It's not. There's a lot more to deal with. It has to be institutions reimagined or redesigned from the ground up.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you there.
You could just say you agree with me.
I could just say I agree with you. This mic setup does not work. This is a disaster. You're
just kicking things left, right, and center.
Well, it's center, center, and center because it's right between my feet.
I see.
Now I've lost my train of thought again. Can I introduce a new little element to this conversation?
Yeah.
It's cropped up in our private dialogues about this whole thing.
Mm. 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 Mm.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, and I don't want to paraphrase what you've said. So I'm going to try to frame this as best as I can, conclusions that I reached because of things you've said. And if it veers too much into a world of, like Swinky said, butterfly?
Yeah.
We got to set up a butterfly camp. It is impossible for me to conceive of a version of this where we don't have a butterfly cam pointed out the window.
So you've come to a conclusion based on
not
the
a conclusion,
discussions
just
we've
some
had.
thoughts.
Okay.
And anytime I say something that isn't yours and you want to disown it, you can disown it.
Okay.
That's the only reason I'm setting it up that way. And that is that the government you're looking at in America now is when Trump was elected, your first words to me were congratulations on your first black president.
Yeah. First African president.
Sorry, first African president.
Yeah.
That Obama.
Sorry, I have an evil laugh going. I'm sorry.
No, but that
I remember saying that.
that Obama was just as white as Bill Clinton, just as white as he was, just as American as those guys were. But Trump was our first African president, that he would run it in the ways that you grew up knowing in your town.
This is how they do politics.
So there's that factor. Then there's the factor of the haves and the have-nots, and who gets a fair trial and who doesn't get a fair trial, and nobody gets a fair trial. The rich people get off and the poor people get punished.
Yeah.
There's no version of that that's a fair trial, right?
Right.
So you are seeing all these things that we paint down racial lines in America.
Yeah.
That it's the black community that can't get a fair trial, that can't get a mortgage, that can't move into the neighborhood, that can't get into the schools they want to. And it's the white people who, we've seen it time and again. They can murder people and just walk away scot-free saying they were standing their ground or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the things that's been really instrumental in having these conversations with you and that has helped me reframe the whole thing in my mind is that these are not, that America superimposes these racial divides. And I think it's becoming increasingly clear that the racial divides are class divides as much as anything. And it's by design in America that the black community was kept at a lower class. And I think it's important to frame these things, including the racial component, but also understanding the class component, the economic component that's playing into it. And I am hoping that the increased enthusiasm that we've been seeing, that I do believe is sustaining more and better than I had first expected it to. I was not very optimistic in the early days of this go around. But as middle class white fades into lower class, maybe the lines start to get blurred over here, and it's not such a clear-cut race divide in America, and we start to understand that this is a class issue that permeates every developed nation on Earth. Have I overstepped my bounds?
No.
Okay.
That's a fair observation. Yeah. But we also have to, we cannot everything's multifaceted. Everything is multifaceted, right?
Yeah. No, there's no one answer to any of this or one size fits all solution. But it's just the main idea that has been introduced from endless conversations with you has been like, it's the same as in Kenya. Yeah. Only we don't get this, like, you could take off your glasses and tell who's getting screwed and who's not because we're all the same skin color over there.
Yeah.
But over here, who's getting, like, even a half-blind person could guess which one's getting screwed in the room and which one's got a leg up on the competition.
Right. Yeah.
But that leg up, I don't want I want it to be gone.
I know, baby. And it used to frustrate me so much back home. And it still does sometimes.
What was it that would frustrate you?
No, that politics have nothing to do with the people. Nothing. Only, even at the local level. Nothing to do with the people.
Nope,
it's about money.
All it is buttering up the people for 6 months
Yeah.
and then harvesting whatever you can before someone else.
Get in. And it's like an accepted culture. He got into office. Hey, his family is going to eat. That's how we say, are you going to get some money? And now, they become friends, or they befriend, or they use that person to get favors to be able to do this or that. There's graft everywhere. It's something that was passed down from the colonial system of government, where they really had to treat their employees, the government employees, well, so that they could be their eyes and ears out among the locals, the blacks.
So hold on. Just a little bit of context. When you're talking colonial, are you talking the English would be employing locals for government positions, and they had to pay them at levels that would keep them loyal to the British above their own tribes?
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
got it.
It's the culture of just systemic graft that's so deeply embedded in every system, judicial, education, everything. It's everywhere, with hospitals even, so
I would have fired myself at this point if I wasn't.
Bumped into somebody.
I'm going to have a sit-down conversation with myself after this.
Sorry, my point is that as a Kenyan, when I see the problems that the Americans have, I understand that there's the racial history and the way race has played into these issues. I can understand that, but I also see that it's not the only thing.
It's not the only thing, and there is a bigger and even more terrifying and complicated picture than race relations in America. Because race relations are a subset of class relations. They're all intrinsically intertwined and woven together and terrible. From top to bottom.
And it stings so much because Americans believe themselves to be good. You've done a lot of good in the world, is what Americans, I believe, are taught, right?
To be fair, it is my belief that everybody in every country has a narrative that, well, every person has a narrative that they are fundamentally correct in what they're doing. Otherwise, why would they be doing it? Right. Everybody can justify every action they do. Even Hitler thought he was making the best use of his time. Yeah. Like whatever a person is doing,
the best use of his time.
The hero of one's own story type of thing. And the transitive property is that your place of origin is also probably right. So it's just like a psychological glitch.
Yeah.
And it's most benign. At its most benign, not and its most benign. But yeah, Americans also think that we got it. We cracked the code and we got it right.
So there's this dissonance, sort of coming to terms with the reality, how the world actually sees you. And it makes you, I think it would force you to ask yourself how you see yourself.
I don't know that we as a country make any bones about how the world sees us.
Yeah, you guys don't really care, huh? There's some people who do. I have seen discourse addressing that, how America has been sideswept and excluded from global conversations since the government has become a little hostile toward foreign involvement.
But I don't think anyone on either side of the political divide is surprised by that. The Democrats wring their hands about it and say, like, oh, we should behave in a global way. And the Republicans, I feel like, take pride in that kind of, like, we march to the beat of our own drum. they don't want to invite us. We didn't want to be a part of their stupid club anyway. Yeah, like that kind of approach to globalism. Anyway,
I don't know.
How do we fix it all? Last question. Camera on Swinky. What do we do?
We laugh.
I think Mom would like that answer quite a bit.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Laugh.
I don't disagree with you. Wait a minute. Let me try it out. I agree with you.
That's me happy in the house.
All right. I think we covered it all. I think we fixed pretty much everything from COVID-19 to race relations in America to the caste system that different folks have been born into. It's wild that, when you talk about colonialism, that when you talk about corruption in politics, and you can trace it straight back to colonialism, like it all.
Because they set up those governments.
Yeah. Well, what do you think happened
changed.
here? A bunch of British people set up those governments. It's the same people who were doing it in your country and who did it in my country. And
it worked for them. But they were coming from
feudal.
Well,
of course imperialism works for the imperialists.
Right. And they were coming from...
It's a great deal for the conqueror.
They were coming from a region of the world where they used to have feudal systems. I mean, that was scary stuff, what they used to do in those times, medieval England. I mean, they still have those practices and systems of government were just passed around. Carried from place to place.
Passed around.
Passed
up, passed out, and passed around.
But now we're thinking about it. And now there's so many great minds thinking of how to sort through this mess and find little lights in all these tunnels.
Did your metaphor get ahead of you?
Little flickers of hope in an endless cavern.
Of despair. And I think we're going to leave it there. I think the best podcasts are left on endless caverns of despair.
Okay. No, baby. Let's end on a good note. Thank you for listening to our podcast. And we love you.
We do. We do.
It's all love.
Let's do one more for Mom just because why not? Here we go. You ready?
Together